Tonight on Speedweek, it's back to action for Yates Racing, and Gordon gets the call. From Denver, the story of two athletes beating the odds of sports and life. And we'll profile another Fastmaster, three-time Indy 500 winner, Robby Unser. Stay with us. All this and more next. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Speedweek. I'm Bob Jenkins. The Robert Yates Racing Team has returned to NASCAR Winston Cup competition following a week off after the tragic death of their driver, Davey Allison, in a helicopter crash. Earlier this week, the team announced that it was securing the services of an IndyCar driver for tomorrow's race at Talladega. Eli Gold is in Alabama with more on that story and the Die Hard 500.
Well, Bob, the driver who's been named to pilot this Haviland Ford here tomorrow, Robby Gordon, is also currently in the top 10 in IndyCar standings. It's for that reason that he'll only be able to drive the car here this weekend, and no permanent replacement has yet been named.
One way would be get the best driver that's right at the top of the Winston Cup list, most experienced. We'll start down that list. It may make some people uncomfortable. It certainly makes me uncomfortable, but I haven't talked to any of them yet.
For those of you unfamiliar with Robby Gordon, he began his career in off-road racing, following in the footsteps of his father, Bob. In 1990, in his first stock car start, he was the pole sitter for an ARCA race in Atlanta, but his effort ended with a crash. 3 months later, he ran his first Winston Cup race, the Daytona 500, driving for Junie Donlevy. He finished 18th that day, although he did run as high as 5th during the race. This year, A.J. Foyt tapped him to be his full-time IndyCar driver, and he's currently 8th in points, and his best finish was 3rd in Australia.
Well, you know, I was definitely wanting to do Winston Cup in 1994. You know, I was trying to put a deal together to run the 2 Daytonas in Indianapolis, but you know, it's an unfortunate way I had to get this ride, you know, but I was talking to the team a little bit about that, and that's how my name got put on the list. And, you know, Winston Cup's not totally out of the question. You know, someday I may do that, but right now I want to work on open wheel cars.
The Die Hard 500 will see 2 veteran drivers return to action for the first time in a while. Neil Bonnett will race for the first time since being injured in a crash at Darlington in April of 1990. Bonnett drives a second car for the Richard Childress team. It's the same car that Dale Earnhardt drove in the Daytona 500.
Man, I tell you, I've been looking for this a long time. For a while there, I didn't think I'd ever be able to get back in a car, and then we started the testing stuff, and it felt so good. And you know yourself, it's a unique situation to be able to climb in something like this the first time back. I can't wait to get in that thing and see what it feels like.
Buddy Baker will be behind the wheel of a 4th car from the Rick Hendrick stable as he returns to racing. Here's a look at the qualifying results for this weekend's activity. The defending champion is Ernie Irvan, who also won here in May. And incidentally, there have been 7 different winners in the 12 super speedway races thus far here in 1993. A couple of other quick notes from here at Talladega. Derek Cope has brought a Mercury Cougar along as his backup car. They tested at Daytona on Thursday with thoughts of making it their primary car, but it wasn't quite ready, but it will serve in a backup role here this weekend. The other big story, obviously, the heat. As a matter of fact, last night at 7 o'clock, the temperature had cooled down to 99 degrees. It's going to be a scorcher. That's it from Talladega, Bob.
Thanks, Eli. It's been almost exactly a month since the NHRA drag racers were in action, but they have begun a western swing that will find them competing for the next 4 out of 5 weekends, including the next 3 straight. Stop number 1 is the 15th annual Mopar Mile High Nationals. Our Dave McClellan is there and has a story of not only sports, but 2 of life's most outstanding people.
For the average person, the daily tasks of taking a shower, getting dressed, or driving a car are done without much thought or effort. But that is for the average person. This is a story about 2 very exceptional people. Darrell Gwynn was on top of the drag racing world. His Top Fuel team was coming off a 3-win season in 1989, in which they finished 4th in points. Plus, Darrell was the record holder for the fastest elapsed time in drag racing history with a 4.909. Things could never have been better for Darrell Gwynn. But then on Easter weekend in April of 1990, Darrell's world as he knew it would be over. Mike Utley was on top of the National Football League. His Detroit Lions were on their way to a first-place finish in the NFC Central, and Mike was having his best season. Until November 17, 1991, when he fell awkwardly on his head doing what he did 1,000 times without ever thinking twice. Today, both Utley and Gwynn suffer from similar paralysis. Neither are able to walk, and both are confined to a wheelchair. Mike and Darrell knew that every time they put on a helmet or laced up their shoes that it could be their last time, but neither thought it would.
I've got 99.9% good memories of the sport, and I'm not going to let one bad day in England ruin what I had in mind and the goals I had in mind for this team. And the crew feels the same way, and that's why we're here in Denver 3 years after my accident.
Matter of fact, I had a buddy come in at the hospital when I was in Detroit. He came and told me, he goes, Mike, don't ask God why he did this. When it's time, he'll tell you why. Until then, don't ask. Don't ask why.
Two athletes from sports a world apart are united this weekend for the Mopar Parts Mile High Nationals in Denver.
Well, my good man, I did bring my Mac tool chest here, and I do have my tools, so whatever you need, let me know, okay?
Oh, boy.
And we'll make something happen. We'll work it.
Gwynn, who owns the La Victoria Salsa race team, has invited Utley to serve as one of his crew members. Both Darrell and Mike think it was important to stay in touch with the sport that has been such a big part of their lives.
The sport's been too good to me, and this is what I love doing, and I love all these people, and that's why I'm here.
When things don't go quite your way, you better find out a way to make it go your way. You know, I mean, like I tell people, tough times never last. Tough people do.
Thank you, Dave. And as we go to break, here's a look at first round qualifying for the Top Fuel, Pro Stock, and Funny Car divisions.
Speedweek is brought to you by BF Goodrich TA Tires when you're ready to get serious.
Coming up, Toyota can clinch this weekend at Laguna, but will they race next season? The All-Stars are making it in Illinois, and these karters hope they'll make it to the top. Later tonight on Saturday Night Thunder, will Gary Lee survive this death-defying stunt?
3 reasons not to buy BF Goodrich TA tires. Being the center of attention makes you uncomfortable. You think a Little Deuce Coupe is a place where tiny chickens are kept. You think Lug Nuts is a high-fiber cereal. BF Goodrich TA tires when you're ready to get serious.
Tire foam protectant from Armor All. One spray, and even old tires look great. Kind of makes you wish we made car foam. Tire foam from Armor All.
People protect the natural beauty of their homes with Olympic than any other stain. Olympic, the only one.
From the days when they ripped through the sands of Daytona to tracks like Talladega and Darlington, racing fans have had a love affair with the drivers. To commemorate these heroes, Country Time presents our new Collector Series, featuring Kowicki, Gant, Shepard, Hamilton, Jarrett, and Darrell Waltrip. What better way to salute the men who risk it all on the Speedway and the fans who make it all worthwhile.
Welcome back to Speed Week. Here are the top qualifiers for the Grand Prix of Germany, which you can see live tomorrow morning at 7:50 Eastern here on ESPN. Toyota can clinch the IMSA manufacturer's title tomorrow at Laguna Seca Raceway in the Monterey Grand Prix. 1993 has been a transition year for IMSA as new rules become effective for next year. Richter Brule is at Laguna with all the details.
Well, there are a lot of people who at the beginning of the year would have been surprised to hear that this race actually happened. They fully expected IMSA to die and blow away before the middle part of the year. We're here at Laguna Seca, and not only are the teams still racing, but there's a good battle going on. The big battle now, though, is they've survived this year. How do they make that transition into next year? That's what IMSA President Dan Greenwood has been working on throughout the year, and they finally think they've turned the corner.
We've had meetings with virtually every P and light team individually and collectively, and we're expecting a good 80% of them back. We've already gotten calls from a number of people, in fact up over 15 of people that aren't involved right now in the P's or Light Series that are talking World Sports Car.
The 94 regulations are out. They are set. There will be no changes. We, from the first inception of the rules, have made some adjustments after talking to the industry and some of the participants, but basically the concept is sound as a flat bottom open two-seat sports car, and we're basically set to go. We've made some provisions for changing the point system. We've made some provisions to do some other things that will reward consistency and reward individual drivers' performances in the 94 system. So, you know, basically we're set to go.
If Toyota does indeed clinch the Manufacturers' Championship this weekend, in a way it'll be the end of an era when the manufacturers, the big manufacturers, dominated IMSA racing. I guess the big question is, will next year be the beginning of a new era? At Laguna Seca, I'm Rick DeBrule reporting for Speedweek.
All right, thank you, Rick. In some parts of the Midwest, the devastating floods have had an effect on everyone and everything. With the loss of property and in some cases lives, it seems inappropriate to talk about how it's affected racing. But several tracks in Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, Wisconsin, and South Dakota have not operated in weeks and won't for several more. This is Lakeside Speedway in Kansas City, and as you can see, most of the track is completely underwater. Another hard-hit area has been Knoxville, Iowa, southeast of Des Moines. Although the track isn't underwater, 7 of the last 9 events have been postponed or canceled by rain. The World of Outlaws were supposed to run there Wednesday night, but were rained out. They rescheduled for Thursday night and again were washed out.
Well, I had a year way back in about the late 60s, I think, where we lost 7 races. Well, we've matched that now. This was our 7th one. And so there's still a couple months to go. So it's a tough year. I hope nobody else has to go through this. Last year, I know Pennsylvania really got nailed on this stuff. And this year, Pennsylvania is getting their races in at least. So I guess it's our turn. And but we'll hang in there. We'll be around for a lot of years to come.
Macon, Illinois is in the central part of that state and has not had the flooding problems. The town has a quarter-mile racetrack on which the Club All-Stars competed Tuesday night. In the second heat race, watch the upper right of your screen for Tim Engler to hit the fence and go up and over. Tim was not injured. We move to later action in the second heat. Jack Hewitt on the inside was racing with Ron Standridge when they touched wheels and Ron flipped over. He too escaped injury. There was a problem starting the third heat. The red car in the second row is Rocky Hodges, who got on his head after making contact with the pole sitter. Hodges later climbed out uninjured. The feature featured a spirited battle between number 88 Joey Saldana on the right and the red number 7C driven by Joe Gertie. That's how Gertie wrestled the lead from Saldana early. A few laps later, with Gertie bottled up behind a slower car, Saldana used the high groove to get the lead back. But Joe wasn't to be denied. With still a lot of traffic on this tight track, he got under Saldana with just 2 laps to go and went on to win. And here are the results of the All-Star race last night at Eldora Speedway in Rossburg, Ohio. It was a tune-up for tonight's $50,000 to win Kings Royal.
This is CNN.
Now the crowd's into it. Now the crowd's here. Hello.
Take the direct route to big savings all the way to Woodrum's on East Jackson Street in Macomb. Tony Caniglio for Woodrum's. Woodrum's commitment to quality and value is what you see every day with the best selection and the best deals on new and used vehicles. Choose from the best selection of GM cars around, including Chevy, Oldsmobile, Pontiac, Buick, Cadillac, and GMC trucks. Woodrum's will give you $100 cash if we can't beat any other GM or Chrysler dealer's bona fide sold order. The savings and selection are waiting for you at Woodrum's, 3200 East Jackson Street in Macomb.
The 50 yards.
indoor war. The rock and roll fury of arena football. Cleveland meets Miami tonight on ESPN.
Our Backtrack segment takes us to Salem, Indiana for the AC Delco Challenge Series, ASA's 10th race of the year. Points leader Johnny Benson Jr., number 21, was pole sitter for the 7th time this year and dominated the early going until tire wear forced him to relinquish the lead to Larry Moore, who would eventually finish 7th. Later in the 200-lapper, Scott Hansen battled with Jim Sauter until with just 8 laps to go, Scott took the lead and drove to his first win of the season. Hansen is now 3rd in points. Benson still leads defending champion Mike Eddy. IndyCar owners met earlier this week in Chicago and talked about several things, including the possible expansion to another overseas venue.
Well, it appears that we may be going to Brands Hatch for an exhibition race. It's still got to be approved by the board of directors of kart, but most of the owners voted for it. That would be exciting. And also, it looks like Miami might possibly be on the schedule next year.
The IndyCars raced at Brands Hatch in late 1978 under the USAC banner with Rick Mears winning. The IndyCars made their first appearance in Canada in 1967 at Mossport Park, which is north of Toronto. For the past 8 years, their stop has been at Exhibition Place near downtown Toronto, and with several support races, it has become one of the most popular venues on the tour. Emerson Fittipaldi grabbed the lead from the pole position over teammate Paul Tracy, but later surrendered it when he experienced gearbox problems. The tight temporary course didn't deter wheel-to-wheel racing, as Unser Jr. made this daring move around Robby Gordon for position. Nigel Mansell's weekend did not improve on race day. After crashing on both Friday and Saturday, Mansell's day ended with a broken wastegate, leaving him in 20th position. The best battle was for 3rd among Danny Sullivan, Bobby Rahal, and Unser Jr. They ran nose to tail for the final laps, but Sullivan held on to the position. Tracy won his 2nd race in a row in front of his home crowd and became the first Canadian to win an IndyCar race in Canada. Fittipaldi's 2nd place allowed him to take the points lead for the first time this year over Mansell. Raul Boesel is 3rd, and Tracy's win moved him into 4th. Fittipaldi has won 2nd quarter balloting for Driver of the Year. Mo won 2 races during the April through June period, including his 2nd Indianapolis 500. There were several support races in Toronto. Here's a look with Marty Reed.
The Tasman Motor Racing Team took the front row in the Indy Lights event, with Steve Robertson nipping Brian Herta by 0.2 of a second. And when the green flag dropped, the number 15 of Robertson pulled away to a comfortable lead for the first 15 laps. But then Robertson slowed after the tough Toronto streets kicked off the ignition. By the time he realized what was wrong, Herta moved past to take the lead, which he would never surrender. Herta added to his Indy Lights points lead, taking 20 for the win and 1 for the most laps led. And he now leads Freon by a commanding margin of 41 points. Turning to action in the Players Limited Toyota Atlantic Division, Claude Bourbonnais and teammate Jacques Villeneuve made Ontario native David Empringham a sandwich for all 42 laps. Bourbonnais, who started from the pole, led wire to wire in what has to be one of the most courageous drives of the season. Fuel, which began leaking into the cockpit through the overflow, soaked Bourbonnais' driver's suit by lap 3. And despite the ever-increasing chemical burns, he refused to come out of the cockpit until the checkered flag fell. When he was taken from the race car, unable to attend the winter ceremonies, it was discovered he had suffered first-degree chemical burn from the middle of his back to the midsection of his thighs. He was treated and released and will be ready for the next round of Toyota Atlantic action. Canada was also represented with 4 drivers in the Trans Am lineup, including outside front row starter Ron Fellows, who going into the race had most wins this season, 3. But the points leader was Scott Sharp, who took the early lead in his Rain-X Camaro. Greg Pickett ran up front before problems sidelined him 4 laps from the finish. Sharp led all the way in beating Fellows, George Robinson, and Bobby Archer. The victory also gave Chevrolet a 2-point margin over Ford in the manufacturer's battle. For Speedweek, this is Marty Reed.
Their busy schedule continues tomorrow at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. Sharp failed to win the pole, and so he remains 1 shy of tying the all-time Trans Am pole mark of 23, held by Mark Donahue.
What makes Jiffy Lube America's favorite oil change? Over 45,000 satisfied customers a day say it's because of the service. You get trained technicians who take good care of you and your car. plus the performance, protection, and quality of Pennzoil motor oil. So you get top quality service. You and your car deserve the best. So take it to number one. Take it to Jiffy Lube.
Drive in every 3,000 miles.
Okay, 3 reasons not to buy BF Goodrich TA tires. The only hairpins you're comfortable with are the ones your grandmother uses. You get white knuckles on a dime store pony. You think 55 miles an hour is quite fast enough, thank you. BF Goodrich TA tires when you're ready to get serious.
Tire foam protecting from Armor All. One spray, and even old tires look great. Kind of makes you wish we made car foam. Tire foam from Armor All.
Speedweek's travel arranged through Continental. One airline can make a difference. Business first, the comfort and service of international first class at a business class fare. That's the difference on Continental.
The final preliminary Fastmasters race and the USAC Sprint Cars highlight tonight's Saturday Night Thunder coming up at the top of the hour. Let's get the latest on the Sprint Cars by calling in Gary Lee, who's at Indianapolis Raceway Park.
Thanks, Bob. Hi, everybody. With the Wera motorcycles competing on the road course here at Raceway Park, tonight on the oval, we'll once again showcase the USAC Loctite Sprint Cars. And if last week was any indication, we should have some great competition tonight.
In the first heat last Saturday, Darrell Gordon, substituting for the suspended Steve Butler, lost control, did a 360 spin coming to the checkered flag. He finished 5th. The feature was highlighted by a furious battle for the lead among Tony Stewart, Mike Bliss, and Kenny Irwin. Irwin even made contact with Bliss, but each managed to keep his car from spinning, and Bliss eventually got by both to take the lead for good. But it was a night for spinning, as Jeff Bloom on the last lap spun, creating a huge cloud of smoke, but managed to avoid the concrete wall and other cars to continue. Bliss's victory made the Oregon driver the first ever to win a midget, Silver Crown, and sprint car feature at IRP in the same season. As we mentioned, Steve Butler was not in competition. Now, on Wednesday of this week, the USAC board heard his appeal. They upheld the $2,500 fine and 30-day sprint car suspension. However, they lifted the 30-day Silver Crown suspension. So conceivably, Steve could contend for his 3rd Silver Crown title. Now, this week, I had a chance to experience thunder of a different nature. This is the 50th anniversary tour of the Joie Chitwood Thrill Show. Joie himself was a premier sprint car and big car driver of the 30s and 40s. Although he died in 1987, his family carries on the thrill show tradition, and they invited me to join in the festivities. Now, as you can see from the burn scarring on the helmet, it did get just a tad hot under the collar. We'll show you my amazing stunt ability tonight on the Thunder as we feature the USAC Sprint Cars and round 5 of the Fastmasters. And one of the Fastmasters is 3-time Indy 500 champion and now ABC commentator Bobby Unser. Bobby is always outspoken, and he had some choice comments earlier today.
I would rather take a rain race than lose the race. In other words, when it rained, I'd be stupid if I sat here and told you that I wasn't happy. I don't mind having a shootout with anybody at any time, but not when it's something as big and as important as the Indianapolis 500. I'll take it anytime I can get it, in any way that I can get it. All those things that happened that day, and then after the race, just made me a bigger and stronger person, and just made the win more important to me. So when people ask me, what was your most important Indy win? Obviously 1968 was my first one. That has to be the most important. But believe you me, the second most important was 1981, because I won that sucker every way you could ever win a race. Jerry, when he got hurt and when he died, had no bitter feelings. He was a happy race driver. He didn't want to be hurt, but he was. And for some reason or another, the whole family has just taken on with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and it's been more like our home, more than anything maybe other than Pikes Peak. My uncle, like when I was a kid, was called the King of the Mountain. They used to put that in the newspapers and national magazines all the time. And I used to tell him there's going to be another king someday. And I eventually made it happen. And today, they call me the king. I belong to a lot of Motorsports Hall of Fame. And I enjoy every one of them, and I think they're all really good for motor racing. And it's good for my ego.
Little Al ran right into the back of him. That's where his wing went, and some of those parts we saw flying around was little Al's front wing. He absolutely booted Mario. That was the most fabulous finish I've ever seen. I've never seen anybody try any harder than Scott Goodyear did or little Al. And Danny wasn't far enough up underneath him, so it would have to be Danny's fault. He just didn't have what I call enough bite on little Al to let him go by yet.
But I say what I think, and I always have. And believe it or not, I always will. I've raced somewhere or another all my grown life. All the days I started when I was 15 years old, and basically I still do it now. If I'm not on the racetrack doing racing, I'm fantasizing about it. And when I watch a race, and when I'm calling it on television, I'm living what I'm calling. And what I call is what I believe, and it's nice to be able to do that. So many drivers aren't as lucky as I am along those lines. I love to set records, and I set a whole bunch of them. So I got most of the things done that I wanted in my career. Just some things are that I didn't win enough races.
Lisa's great, but there's something about Sharon. Sharon's okay, but Lisa, whew, what a knockout.
Why is the grass always greener on the other side?
You lucky dog. Lucky dog.
Why ask why? Try a less filling beer with a lot more taste. Bud Dry. It's one thing.
Nice.
That's beyond question.
To help manage your money more wisely today, get the Wall Street Journal Guide to Understanding Personal Finance. The guide is filled with information you need to know before you buy a home, plan your retirement, or start saving for your child's college years. Subscribe now to the Wall Street Journal. Take advantage of this introductory offer. Get 10 weeks of the journal for just $36 and your free copy of the Guide to Personal Finance. Call 800-628-1100. That's 800-628-1100.
You're watching ESPN, the Total Sports Network.
This past May, Mark Smith came close to becoming the first with that surname to make the starting field at the Indianapolis 500, but was bumped on the final day of qualifying. As Larry Rice reports, there are a couple of go-kart racers named Smith who might also try Indy someday.
That's right, Bob. Brent and Brian Smith, two 20 and 21-year-old brothers, were the most dominant drivers among the over 850 entrants at this year's Elkhart Grand Prix. They were each entered in 3 different divisions, finishing first and second in 2 of them, and finishing second and third in the other. When they take to the track, though, it's obviously every brother for himself. The two often put on quite a show, battling side by side, but Brent ended up 3 for 3 against his brother. Did you let him around on purpose that one time?
No, I didn't let him on purpose. He just passed me fair. So I didn't have a choice.
It looked to me like at the end you tried to let off and finish side by side. Is that right or not?
Yeah, I try to make it look good at the end.
If you think you have to watch stock cars or IndyCars to see action, well, you're dead wrong. The drivers range from 12 to over 60 years old, but it's certainly not a sport for the faint of heart. The Elkhart Grand Prix is a great race. Before I came up here, I had no idea why people would travel from all over the country, California, New Jersey, every place, just to compete in this event. 850 karts. Well, now I know. It's exciting, it's fast, and it's not a backyard sport like a lot of people used to think. This thing is first class. The people here at Elkhart put on a first-class show. And I'll tell you what, I'd come back again in a minute just to watch.
Well, Larry, yours truly pulled off a couple of amazing, outstanding victories in a go-kart earlier this week. On the front stretch of Indianapolis Raceway Park, I wiggled through a hole that wasn't even there and went on to capture both 5-lap races. It was all for the Arthritis Foundation of Indiana. And that will do it for another edition of Speed Week. Next week, we'll be on at this same time, 7:30 Eastern on Saturday night. Stay tuned for Saturday Night Thunder. And we leave you tonight with some more exciting moments from the 50th anniversary edition of the Joie Chitwood Thrill Show. So long, everyone.
Speed Week has been brought to you by Bud Dry, the less filling beer with a lot more taste. Why ask why?
Bye.